there, most amazing royal subjects. Welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. I'm Rebecca Felgate, and today we're getting pretty darn regal as we talk about the top 10 most famous queens of all time. Love me a good queen. Queen Rebecca Jane Felgate the first, me. Coming in at number 10, we have Cleopatra, who reigned between 51 and 30 BCE. Good old Cleopatra, the last queen of ancient Egypt. Cleopatra was known for her beauty, and well as being possibly the reincarnation of the Egyptian god Isis. Cleopatra was known for her promiscuity, and she had sex with many famous men, including Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. She allegedly killed herself by encouraging a snake to bite her. Because of her power, beauty, promiscuity, and strangely poetic death, she became fascinating to later generations, who constantly depicted her in literature and art, including Shakespeare, who wrote Antony and Cleopatra. Coming in at number 9, we have Queen Maria Theresa, who reigned from 1740 to 1780. Queen Maria Theresa was the sole female ruler of the Habsburg dynasty and the last of House Habsburg. She fought her right to rule and kept her throne for 40 years. She ruled Austria, Hungary, Croatia, Bohemia, Transylvania, Milan, Mantua, Parma, and she also ruled the Austrian Netherlands. She was pretty successful as a queen, making education compulsory in the 18th century. She also doubled the Austrian army. Austria usually celebrates Queen Maria, although she did have some downsides and views that we don't find very progressive today. At number 8, we have Queen Maria Theresa's daughter, Marie Antoinette. She was queen consort between 1774 and 1791. Unlike her mother, Marie is not considered to have been a very good leader. She actually provoked popular unrest, and as a result, she was the last queen of France before the monarchy crumbled. Famous for her opulent lifestyle and her infamous phrase, "let them eat cake," the country's financial crisis was blamed on this woman, and she became known as Madame Deficit. She eventually met the guillotine in 1793. Coming in at number 7, we have Queen Hatshepsut, who reigned Egypt between 1478 and 1458 BCE. Hatshepsut was the first female pharaoh of Egypt and the longest reigning female of the Egyptian history. She was considered to be one of the best rulers Egypt had, focusing on infrastructure. She built the temple Deir el-Bahari, which is still by and large there today, almost 2,000 years later. Strangely, despite being a queen, she was very keen to masculinize herself, asking to be painted with bulging muscles and sometimes even a beard. Her mummy was identified in 2007, so part of this famous queen still exists today. Coming into number 6, we have Mary, Queen of Scots, who reigned between 1542 and 1567. Mary. Things were pretty complicated for Mary, making her a very interesting historical figure. She became queen at 6 days old and was betrothed to Henry VIII's son Edward. The Scots decided that this was actually a very bad idea and sent her off to marry the French heir Francis, who then became the king. After just 1 year as queen consort in France, her husband died and 18-year-old Mary went back to Scotland, where she married her cousin, who was later murdered. The plot thickens. She then married the chief suspect in her husband's murder, the Earl of Bothwell. This actually turned the people against her, and she abdicated in 1567 and fled to England. Now, she did have a claim to the throne in England, so her cousin Queen Elizabeth locked her up for 19 years. Queen Elizabeth was reluctant to dispose of her, although she did eventually when Mary was found to be corresponding with a traitor to the throne. Next up, while we're talking about her, we may as well get into her. At number 5, we have Queen Elizabeth I, who reigned from 1558 to 1603. Queen Elizabeth was King Henry VIII's daughter and later a ruthless Queen of England. She never married, she had no heir, and she became known as the famous Virgin Queen. She strengthened the Church of England and led the Elizabethan era, during which William Shakespeare lived. Because of her long reign, she established a true national identity for Britain. While some people see her as a feminist icon, she actually kind of wasn't. She was quoted saying, "I know I have the body of a weak and feeble woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king, and a king of England too." Like, babe, you can have the heart and stomach of a fierce woman and still rule. From Queen Elizabeth I to her mother, the jilted Anne Boleyn, at number 4. She was queen consort for just 3 years between 1533 and 1536. Anne Boleyn was the centre of much scandal, making her an infamous queen. Firstly, she was the cause of the first ever royal divorce. King Henry VIII ditched his wife of over 20 years, Queen Catherine of Aragon. He had already bedded Anne's sister, but as Anne refused to become his mistress, the king strived to marry her. Sadly, while she did have his daughter Queen Elizabeth, she didn't produce any sons. In a bid to find a new wife and a son maker, he plotted against her and had her head chopped off. Charming. Coming in at number 3, we have Catherine the Great, Empress of Russia. She reigned from 1762 to 1796. Catherine the Great was Russia's longest ruler and was known for her expansion of the Russian Empire as well as her many scandalous affairs. She overthrew her husband and became Empress of Russia. She had a habit of rotating her lovers, who were often military men. Coming in at number 2, we have the second longest reigning queen in history, Queen Victoria. She ruled from 1837 to 1901. Victoria is famous for her long reign and her happy marriage to her cousin Prince Albert, of whom she was devastated and heartbroken when he died, famously wearing only black from then on. She was seen as a strong head of state during Britain's Industrial Revolution, and her various jubilees were a national celebration. Before we reach number 1, of course we need to have a few honourable mentions because there are so many awesome queens out there without official titles. We have RuPaul, we have the Band Queen, Queen Latifah, and my favourite ultimate fictional queen, Cersei Lannister. Bow down. Finally, at number 1, the longest reigning queen in history and the most famous queen in our generation, we have Queen Elizabeth II, the current Queen of England. She reigned from 1952 to present. Queen Elizabeth became the monarch of England aged 26. 65 years later, she is still going strong. Living through war, upheaval, scandal, Queen Elizabeth has been a rock for many throughout her time. Plus, she made a James Bond cameo, which forever will hold her extremely high in my esteem. I'm all about her matching dress suit and hat combos too, and I also find her and Prince Philip very cute. So guys, that was the top 10 most famous queens. Who is your favourite? Let me know in the comments section down below. Are they a real queen or are they a fictional queen? Let me know. For now, I've been Queen Rebecca Felgate I. If you like this video, make sure you give it a good thumbs up, share it with your royal friends, and stay subscribed to Most Amazing Top 10 for more fantastic lists. I'll see you next time.